Okay, so originally I was planning to talk about 5 fallacies around agility. I'm actually going to be focusing on 3 of them today. Here it is, 3 fallacies, just because I'm in short amount of time. So I try to give you enough of information and try to focus on just 3 of them today. First of all, what's a fallacy? A fallacy, so that we're all on the same page, is an idea or belief that is false, but that many people think is true, kind of a misbelief, a misconception that is widespread. And we will see some examples of them and how to rectify them, to overcome them. I would like to ask you, first of all, please interact with each other. Write down some of your fallacies, some of the things you identify in your work at the moment that you think are wrong. And yeah, just interact with each other while I present myself a little bit more, just for 1 minute. So I'm a software developer, and I've been a software developer for more than 11 years now. More recently, in the 5 past years, I've been more and more busy with kind of the ScrumMaster task. I've got the chance to be in several Agile teams and got the chance to experience a little bit more with this role, should I say, accountability. And then seeing that I really liked the role, I tried to get a little bit more acquainted with it. I studied for certification, scrum.org, and Certified Scrum Master. The Scrum Alliance are the most common ones and most famous ones, I guess. And when I'm not working, you might find me involved into some volunteering projects. Some of them are here, so that I get the chance to experience, to practice a little bit more this servant leadership with other people in other domains. And before I forget, here's my LinkedIn for people who desire to stay in contact and maybe ask some questions at the end after the talk. So let's start. Fallacy number 1, Agile will help us go faster. So earlier in my career, I'm on this Waterfall project, which is fixed scope, time, and budget. And it's rather clear what we need to do. There is a list of tasks that has been signed off by the client, and they want us to, with other developers, we're 3 developers in the end on this project, they just want us to implement this set of tasks. Pretty simple. Now, on another project in a more Agile team, I would say so-called Agile team, because even though we're following the events prescribed by the Scrum Guide for the Scrum team, I quickly get the impression they're not really adhering to the values and principles behind the philosophy or the framework. And so to me, why is this a fallacy that Agile will help us go faster, which is so common, and I see this more and more on the internet these past weeks. So in the second case, okay, we have more agility, but did we get more delivered in the end? I would suggest that not really. But again, I might ask the question, is it really about performance? Is performance our real goal? The reason why we're doing Agile in the end? And so reflecting back on my experience, what I notice is, yes, with Agile, you get early feedback, you get validation, but it also takes time. You need to organize some meetings with the client, with the stakeholders, to show them your work, and it's something that's not really taken into account in the development in the development effort in a methodology like Waterfall. So this brings me to the first Agile principle, which is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So there is this early and continuous delivery I mentioned with the feedback, and this is something I didn't ask the people because they didn't invite me this day in 2001 to establish the Agile Manifesto. There is also the satisfy part. And I would argue, yes, in the second case, we're trying to really delight the customer. But in the case of my Waterfall project earlier in my career, we were merely trying to implement stuff that had been agreed upon upfront without really trying to please and to delight the customer. So, and I know for a fact, actually, my manager told me at the time, everything that's out of scope for this project that the customer wants to change will be actually part of a new wave of development in the future, for which we will try to negotiate some more budget. So we were just merely doing stuff without really knowing if it's going to be used in it, which I think is rather sad, actually. So just keep that in mind. Second one, Agile is a destination. So I'm again in a team that's rather agile. One of my second example, for example, I just mentioned. And okay, they are following the Scrum guide in a good way, but I quickly get the chance to still help them with the help of the team to help them reach the next level. For example, trying to get the business have the feeling that yes, we are releasing every 2 months now, but why not every 2 weeks? Why not releasing every sprint? Because the business doesn't want it as the business. Why should they want it? So it's something we managed to achieve there with time. But there are still some things like the infamous daily status meeting. Some people might be aware of that and might be experiencing that right now, which in my case was this team lead trying to put some more control in the process and giving the impression that he wanted to know everything and that the developers had to report to him during the daily meeting, which is, in my opinion, kind of defeating the purpose in this meeting if clearly made for the developer, for them to hold each other accountable and have a look at the sprint goal to see their progress. So eventually, they thank me for my work. The project is done. They don't have budget anymore to do some more development work, and they offer me a team lead position, which at the time I quickly refused, thinking like, why don't you have a ScrumMaster position here? I'm in one of the most agile team in the organization, and I still notice no improvement. So why thinking purely about this role and not a ScrumMaster one? In my head, thinking that the title makes all the difference. So move on to something else for me. And this is really, in my opinion, something that sticks for some people and some organizations, is trying to selling this idea we are agile, merely ticking the checkboxes without really thinking a little bit more about what they're actually doing and the next steps. This kind of mentality reigns. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. In my experience as developer, it wasn't really true. You certainly don't want the code to rot and forget about it. It's something you want to pay attention to on a regular basis. And I think it's certainly also not true in agility. You want to develop this mindset of changing things, embracing change even more. So the things I learned, and I would recommend anyone to have a look at it this way. Agility is a journey. It's not something you can really achieve at a certain point in time. There is somewhere always a next level. And I would like to invite you to help the team adopt a growth mindset, stopping thinking like they've achieved, they can rest, get complacent, but still thinking about the next steps and build more resilience, which might be beneficial, especially in this world where there are many disruptions occurring. We hear it all the time on the market, and you really need to, we said, build the muscles and practice this even more so that you're even more comfortable with that and can more easily change over time. I encourage Scrum Masters or other coaches to run experiments with their team, try to incentivize them to try some new things. And if they feel uninspired, It's also, to me, the role of a Scrum Master or a similar role to just trying to bring some inspiration here, even if just for one sprint. Worst case, you learn something that you don't want to do anymore. And I think as a Scrum Master, you also want to start where you are. And in my case, if I had to think about this position right now, I might be thinking differently. Whatever the title people give you, be it project manager, team lead, developer, I think I can certainly in every role bring some of the things that really passionate me, and that can help team evolve in the good direction, bringing even more agility. I don't need a title for that. I can just do it alongside my other tasks. And finally, the third one, Agile doesn't work in practice. Sometimes I might be on a project, and it had happened once. There is a deadline, but there is no staff to develop the project. They want to keep the deadline. Okay, we negotiated the deadline with the previous team. Yes, but all the team members are gone, and now we're half of them, and you expected to respect the same deadline. It's not really realistic. They expected to put even more time, which is, in my opinion, not sustainable. So won't work for me. And you also have sometimes these priorities, changing priorities. Think everything as a priority happened once. It sends the wrong signals. And then what do? You have to choose as a Scrum team what you're going to be working on. Maybe throwing your sprint away every time and redo the thing all over again, the planning all over again to change your priorities. So people might say, okay, in the end, it doesn't work. I don't really see the results, but I would suggest maybe somewhere you're doing it wrong. Okay, I don't have all the answers, but have a look at it. We know Scrum is easy to understand, difficult to master, but still it does work provided you apply the bare minimum. So take the time to do it well from the start. It's not that much, but you have to do it well. And so some things I would suggest to Scrum Masters and coach in general, Agile coaches, is to reflect inside and ask, honestly, is it even a pain? Because for the team, if they don't see it as a problem, maybe you shouldn't force this on them. You might try to increase the pain if they don't see it immediately, but if they really don't want to do anything about it, you certainly don't want to push them and try to convince them to do anything about it. In this sense, start where they are. It's actually, you are there for them, for the team, and you really want to help them, and not trying to push your solution to the team. At times, you want to be the sage on the stage, the teacher, the mentor. But I guess most of the time, you want to be the guide on the side, solving impediments, be there for the team, helping at other levels of the organization, and be a little bit more on the side. But it takes discipline and patience. The real benefits lie in the execution in the end. Okay. Well, I'm actually on time, I think, at the end of my presentation. What I would like to ask you now is to, just on a scale from 1 to 5, please rate the session in the chat, whatever you might be thinking, my speech, my content, and please write down the things you liked, one thing you liked, and one thing I can improve in the future. Thank you for that. And I think the questions were for after the talk, so I'll just hand it over to Tom or Imran.